I arrived late to dinner that evening, where my son, his fiancée, and a few friends were already gathered around a beautifully dressed table. I approached quietly, my velvet burgundy handbag pressed against my chest without anyone noticing. And then I heard my own son laughing. My fiancé can't stand my mother, Damien said with a careless grin. She's far too pathetic to belong here. The table erupted into laughter, and I remained frozen in silence. But those smiles would soon vanish when I revealed a single detail, a detail that changed everything. Traffic on Avenida Insurgents had delayed me by 20 minutes. 20 minutes that altered my life. Forever. That evening, I arrived at La Terraza Dorada feeling my corazon beat with that strange mixture of excitement and nervous anticipation. I had come to give Damien his grandfather's gold watch, a watch I had protected for 32 years, waiting patiently for the perfect moment. The waiter guided me toward the table near the stone fountains. I could hear their laughter from the entrance slowly. I walked between candlelit tables, adjusting my rebozo over my shoulders. No one turned to look at me. They were all leaning forward, completely absorbed, as if sharing the most amusing secret in the world. Then I heard it. Damien's voice. My son, mocking me, imitating my tone with cruel exaggeration. "Hey, mijo, have you eaten? Do you need money? Should I bring you your container of mole?" The laughter exploded around the table. Once more. I stopped 3 meters away. The restaurant disappeared. The music vanished. The conversations faded. There was only that table. Those voices. Those laughs. And then another voice I recognized instantly. Yasmin, his fiancée. "Your mother is so." She paused dramatically, tapping her red nails against her wine glass. How can I say this without sounding cruel? Antiquated. More laughter. That house smells like mothballs and sadness. Dios mío. Every time I visit, I feel like I've traveled 50 years into the past. Someone joked about living museums. Another mentioned antique collections. But what shattered every remaining piece of my soul was what Damien said next. The worst part is she doesn't even realize how pathetic she is. His voice sounded calm, relaxed, almost proud. She literally lives for me. It's unhealthy. That's why Yasmin didn't even want her here tonight. It's too awkward introducing her as, well, you know. A brief silence followed. Then nervous laughter. Yasmin raised her wine glass. "To future dinners without clingy mothers-in-law." "Cheers," Damien replied, touching his glass to hers. Something inside me broke. Not dramatically, not loudly. There was no scream. No tears. Only a cold silence settling deep inside my chest. Freezing 35 years of unconditional love. I inhaled slowly, adjusted my handbag, and walked the final few steps toward the table. Damien. My voice was calm. Far too calm. 7. Heads turned at once. The transformation on their faces would have been amusing under different circumstances. Laughter became surprise. Surprise became horror. Yasmin nearly choked on her wine. Damien's face turned as white as the tablecloth. Mom, you're here." His voice trembled. We didn't hear you, Rive." I noticed. I kept my eyes fixed on him. You all seemed very entertained. The waiter passed nearby. The restaurant continued as usual. But inside our little bubble, silence ruled everything. Yasmin recovered first. Her smile was forced and brittle. "Consuelo, what a surprise. We thought you weren't coming." Clearly, without another word, I reached into my handbag and removed a navy velvet case. I placed it gently in front of Damien. "I only came to bring you this. You forgot it at home this morning." His eyes immediately recognized the case. He had seen it inside my dresser drawer for his entire life. "Mom, it's your grandfather Arturo's watch." I opened the case. The candlelight reflected against the aged gold, against the delicate hands, frozen forever at 3:15. The exact moment my husband died. A family treasure valued at 85,000 pesos. I was going to give it to you tonight, I said softly, because I believed this was the perfect moment. Surrounded by friends, celebrating your future. No one moved. No one breathed. Then I closed the case with a gentle click. But you were right about one thing. Me Amber. I looked directly at my son. Someone as pathetic as me should not be in a place like this. I slipped the case back into my handbag, polluting the air with my mothballs and my sadness. The shame on Damien's face deepened. I could see panic replacing arrogance. But it was too late. Enjoy your dinner. Then I turned toward Yasmin. Every trace of superiority had vanished from her face. And as for you, Kariko, I offered her a soft smile that carried no warmth. I wish you luck with your future. My eyes held. Hers, you're going to need it. I turned and walked away. My legs trembled. But I refused to run. I kept my back straight. My head high. I crossed the restaurant while hearing Damien call after me with growing desperation. Mom, Mom, please. I never turned around. Because in that moment, I finally understood something I had refused to see for months. I had raised a stranger, and that stranger had just destroyed the woman who sacrificed everything for him. But what none of them knew, what none of them could possibly imagine, was that the pathetic, old-fashioned woman they mocked was about to remind them of a lesson they would never forget. A lesson written with dignity, with truth, and with consequences. That night, when I returned home, I sat in the same carved wooden chair where everything had begun 35 years earlier. The same chair where I had received the news that split my life into. My name is Consuelo Veracruz. I am 67 years old. And what happened at that restaurant was not the first time my world collapsed. No, Corazon. The first time happened when I was 30 to exactly the age Damien is now. The moment I sat down in that old carved chair. The silence of my house wrapped around me like a familiar shell. For years, I had feared silence. After Arturo died, silence had become my greatest enemy. It sat beside me during lonely dinners. It followed me through sleepless nights. It watched me struggle to raise a little boy who constantly asked questions I could never fully answer. Where is Papa? When is he coming back? Why does everyone else's father pick them up from school? Dios mío. Those questions nearly destroyed me. But somehow, I survived. Not because I was strong. Because mothers do not always have the luxury of breaking. Sometimes we simply continue breathing, continue working, continue loving, even when our hearts are bleeding. I looked around my living room. The antique furniture, the framed photographs, the lace decorations everyone mocked, the very things Yasmin had laughed about. For the first time, I didn't feel embarrassed. I felt proud. Every object in this house carried a memory. Every photograph represented a sacrifice. Every corner told the story of a woman who had spent 35 years building a life from the ashes of tragedy. My phone suddenly vibrated. Damien and I stared at the screen. The call ended. Then another arrived, and another. Then messages. Mom, please answer. Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, please let me explain. I placed the phone face down. There was nothing left to explain. I had heard enough. The truth about people often reveals itself when they believe you aren't listening. And that night, I had listened carefully. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. The same way I had for decades. Old habits never leave us. I made coffee, watered my plants. Opened the curtains. The world outside continued exactly as before. Birds still sang, cars still passed, the sun still rose. Strange how life refuses to stop, even when your heart is breaking. Around 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I already knew who it was. Damien stood outside. His eyes were red. His hair was messy. He looked exhausted. For a brief moment, I saw the little boy he used to be, the child who ran into my arms after nightmares. The child who once believed I could fix everything. Mom. His voice cracked. I remained silent. Please. I stepped aside and allowed him to enter. We sat across from one another. Neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, he lowered his head. I'm ashamed. Double quotes. Good. The words sounded cruel inside my mind. But it was true. He should be ashamed. I don't know why I said those things. I looked at him carefully. Yes, you do. His eyes filled with tears. No, Mom. I swear. You said them because you believed them. The room fell silent because both of us knew it was true. People don't accidentally humiliate someone they love. Not publicly. Not repeatedly. Not while everyone laughs. Damien covered his face. I was trying to impress them. By insulting your mother? His shoulders shook. I know. For the first time, I noticed how young he suddenly looked. Not like a successful man preparing for marriage. Like a frightened child realizing actions have consequences. I'm sorry. The words hung in the air. Heavy. Fragile. Insufficient. Because some wounds heal slowly. And some apologies arrive too late. After several minutes, I stood and walked toward the cabinet. I removed the navy velvet box. Damien immediately recognized it. The watch. I nodded. It belonged to your grandfather. He swallowed hard. I don't deserve it. No. I sat back down. You don't? More tears appeared. But this time, I felt no satisfaction. Only sadness. Deep, exhausting sadness. Because no mother dreams of reaching a moment like this. We dream of graduations, weddings, grandchildren. Not disappointment. Never disappointment. I spent your entire life trying to teach you kindness. My voice remained calm, but somewhere along the way, you stopped listening. Damien cried openly now. And despite everything, part of my heart still hurt for him. That is the curse of motherhood. Love survives even when trust is broken. I'm ending things with Yasmin. I shook my head. No. His eyes widened. What? This is not Yasmin's fault. Mom. She revealed who she is. I leaned forward. But you revealed who you are. The truth struck harder than any insult. Because it was true. Yasmin had mocked me. But Damien had joined her, encouraged her, protected her cruelty. No one forced him. No one manipulated him. He chose it. And choices matter. Hours passed. We talked honestly for the first time in years. About Arturo. About loneliness. About grief. About mistakes. About expectations neither of us had ever expressed. When afternoon arrived, Damien stood to leave. At the door. He hesitated. Will you ever forgive me? I looked at him. Really looked at him. My son. My greatest joy. My greatest heartbreak. And I answered honestly, yes. Relief flooded his face. Then I continued, but forgiveness and trust are not the same thing. His smile disappeared because he understood. Trust must be rebuilt. Slowly. Patiently. One action at a time. Months passed. The wedding never happened. Not because I demanded it. Not because I interfered, but because once masks fall, they rarely fit again. Damien eventually ended the engagement, not out of anger, out of clarity. He began visiting every Sunday. At first, our conversations were awkward. Careful. Fragile. But little by little, something began healing. Not perfectly, not completely, but honestly. One evening, nearly a year later, we sat together on the patio watching the sunset. The sky glowed gold and crimson. Beautiful. Peaceful. The kind of evening Arturo would have loved. Damien handed me a small package. What is this? Open it. Inside was a silver frame. A photograph. The three of us. Arturo, Damien, and me. Taken just months before Arturo's death. I felt tears fill my eyes. You kept this. He smiled softly. No, Mom. His voice trembled. I finally remembered what matters. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sunset painted everything gold. And for the first time in many years, the ache inside my chest felt lighter. Not gone. Just lighter. Life had taught me something important. Children grow up. People disappoint us. Hearts break. But dignity remains. Always. No matter how others treat us. No matter how cruel the world becomes. And as I looked at the photograph of the family we once were, I realized something beautiful. I had not lost everything. I still had myself. My memories. My strength. My story. And sometimes, Corazon. That is more than enough. The end.